Hello and good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining in today. We have a very special webinar lined up for you today. Parvathy is already on the line. I will just give a quick introduction and then we'll transfer over to Parvathy to take us away. So my name is Fahad Shuja. I'm with the Ontario Good Roads Association and I am the coordinator for member services at OGRA. The webinar today, as you know, it's called Fueling the Future with Hydrogen. It will be presented by Parvathy Pillai. And just to tell you a little bit about Parvathy before I talk a little bit about the webinar, she works as the Hydrogen Fuel Cell Bus Program Lead and Ontario Projects Development Officer at CUTRIC. CUTRIC, you probably know, it stands for Canadian Urban Transit Research and Innovation Consortium. And currently, Parvathy leads the Pan-Canadian Hydrogen Fuel Cell Electric Vehicle Demonstration and Integration Trial Phase 1 at CUTRIC. She is a transformational leader who creatively and strategically attempts to address Canada's transportation needs through sustainable solutions. Previously, Parvathy has worked in project management, environmental consulting, research, teaching, and knowledge translation at various organizations. Now, to give you a bit of an overview of the presentation today, the webinar will effectively inform you, the attendees, on the efforts that CUTRIC is undertaking to bring hydrogen-based solutions to Canada's transportation needs. In particular, Parvathy will look at explaining the Pan-Canadian Hydrogen Fuel Cell Electric Vehicle Demonstration and Integration Trial Project in detail. She will also share information on CUTRIC's TRiPSIM tool, which stands for Transit Route Performance Simulator, which has been developed by CUTRIC's modeling team and designed to predict the performance of alternative propulsion urban vehicles on transit routes, employing different utilization scenarios reflecting seasonal variations, route topography, and ridership. She will also explain the significance of hydrogen as a fuel source and energy storage medium. All in all, the webinar is basically to enable the participants to get a good understanding of the global landscape on hydrogen technology integration in transportation, particularly in buses, and to explore the opportunities and challenges that exist in Canada. So with that, I would like to transfer over to Parvathy. If you give me just 30 seconds, and I will hand over the tools. All right, Parvathy, you should have control now.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for your interest in learning more about the hydrogen landscape, particularly pertaining to the heavy-duty fleet in Canada and what we are doing at CUTRIC to make innovation happen in the country. I should thank Ontario Good Roads Association and Fahad especially for giving me this opportunity to talk to you all, and thank you, Fahad. So as I was telling this to Fahad this morning, I would like our session to be a bit interactive. So how I would like it to be is if you have questions at the time I am presenting, please do type them into the chat or the questions pane, and Fahad would kindly moderate them and stop me at intervals to answer those questions so that we can make sure your questions are answered at the time. Okay, so without further ado, let me begin. So as Fahad introduced, my name is Parvathy Pillai and I lead the Hydrogen Fuel Cell Bus program at CUTRIC. CUTRIC stands for Canadian Urban Transit Research and Innovation Consortium. We were incorporated back in 2014 and we have had substantial success in bringing low carbon smart mobility solutions to Canadian landscape in the recent years. And I will give you a little bit of background about CUTRIC for those of you who are not entirely familiar with us, with our work. So CUTRIC has been incorporated with a vision to make Canada a global leader in low carbon smart mobility technology innovation across light and heavy duty platforms, including advanced transit, transportation, and integrated mobility applications. We are not exclusively for transit, although a bulk of work that we do focuses on transit applications. We are fundamentally based on 4 pillars of innovation. Pillar number 1 is zero emission and low carbon propulsion systems with fueling and charging system integration. So in this particular pillar, we would be doing projects in battery electric and hybrid electric propulsion, along with hydrogen fuel cell electric propulsion technology, compressed and renewable natural gas, and dimethane ether propulsion technologies, as well as grid-based smart management tools that are involved in smart charging of buses as well as hydrogen refueling. The second pillar is smart vehicles and smart infrastructure technologies for autonomous and connected vehicles on roads and on rail. So we do have a national smart vehicle project happening under this pillar, which is about first mile, last mile solutions through autonomous shuttles. Pillar number 3 is big data for mobility analytics and mobility as a service application. This includes initiatives to optimize public and private fleets through the use of descriptive, analytic, and predictive data assessment and the integration of artificially intelligent decision-making systems that guide fleet management process in real time. Pillar number 4 is about cybersecurity in advanced mobility applications. It's about the securitization of low carbon smart mobility systems, including secure communications for autonomous and connected vehicles, given the susceptibility that new vehicle systems are subject to cyber attack like malicious. So that gives you a brief overview on the background of CUTRIC. And these 3 areas span the main areas of our activity. Number 1, we are project management, or we are project managers. We do have project management of large-scale commercialization projects, particularly in the technology readiness level 7 to 9. So that are demonstration deployment projects that we have at CUTRIC span in this area. We do project manage them. We do fund eligible projects. We do have ports of funding available for Ontario projects, and we have funded several millions in the past few years, and this spans the technology readiness level 2 to 6. And we are also environmental consultants and applied research consultants, in the sense that we do a lot of predictive feasibility, energy, emission, and economic modeling, national and global industry overviews, EVSE siting. These are some examples of what we have done. And in this regard, we have been contracted by several transit agencies across the country to model their fleet, to see how electrification would look like, how much of a fleet distribution should they choose to go electric or fully electric versus fully hydrogen powered, for example. So these are the things that we principally do. There are several marquee projects at CUTRIC, and 5 of them are the main ones. Number 1 is Pan-Canadian Electric Bus Demonstration and Integration Trial. The project phase 1 was launched last year. The project is currently in phase 2. As a part of this project, in which Brampton Transit, York Region Transit, as well as TransLink participated, a total of 18 battery electric buses would be deployed. The buses and chargers have already been deployed at TransLink. The buses are, the chargers are arriving at York Region and Brampton. So the project is progressing in phase 2 with a bigger and scaled up vision this time. The second project that we have is Pan-Canadian Hydrogen Fuel Cell Demonstration Integration Trial. That's a project that I am leading. The project is currently in phase 1, and we will be talking more details about that in this webinar. The third one is a National Smart Vehicle Demonstration Integration Trial. It's about the autonomous shuttles, the first mile, last mile solution. We have a rail innovation focus group. This was a contracted project where we are working with Transport Canada to look at what are the rail innovation opportunities, particularly pertaining to low carbon smart mobility in Canada. We have also done some work in natural gas mobility innovation and have a project in that. Okay, so that brings me to the key project that we are going to be discussing today, the Pan-Canadian Hydrogen Fuel Cell Electric Vehicle Demonstration and Integration Trial. The project is currently in phase 1. From now on, we would call this the FCEV trial. So the picture that you see is a fuel cell electric bus from New Flyer, and New Flyer is a key champion in this project. So let's dive in. Before I do talk about the project, I would like to give you a brief overview on why we are doing this project and what is the relevance. So this is a global overview, a global scan of the hydrogen fuel cell bus deployments across the world. According to the most recent NRAL report. So the legend is that P, if it says P, it means the project is being planned and the number of buses that you are going to see is planned to be deployed. R means the buses are currently on road in full service, in full swing. So let's look at what is happening across the world. If you look at our country, Canada, we have 0 buses on road today. So, and 10 being planned, and those 10 buses are CUTRIC project buses, basically. So apart from the CUTRIC project that plans to bring 10 hydrogen fuel cell electric buses to Canada, there aren't any single fuel cell buses in operation in the country, nor are there any that are planned. But that is just our condition. If you look at United States next door, they have 32 hydrogen fuel cell buses fully operational on the roads, 35 buses that are being planned to be deployed in the near future. That's not simply the case with North America. Let's look at Europe. Europe is actually, I would call a champion because they have more than almost around 1,000 fuel cell electric buses in full service operation on roads today, and multiple being planned. And this has been as a result of multiple planning processes and projects such as the Clean Hydrogen in European Cities project, the CHIC project, the High Transit project, the JIVE Joint Initiative for Hydrogen Vehicles in European Cities project over phase 1 and 2 deployed almost 294 buses on road. With the Hydrogen Bus to Europe program planned, there is a 600 buses that has been deployed as well. There are multiple in the planning mode in Europe and almost 900 or 1,000 on road today. India has one Tata mini bus fueled by hydrogen on road. China has 200 buses in planning and to be deployed by 2022. And you might be, if you have looked at some of these numbers in China, there are some debates about the actual numbers that are in deployment in China, because some sources suggest that there are already a lot of buses that are in operation in the country. But according to the report that I could find, I'm proposing that it's 200, although there are sources that suggest otherwise. The numbers about China are not yet clear. South Korea has 1,000 fuel cell electric bus deployments planned by 2022. Japan has 100 buses planned by 2020 Olympics. Japan has been a very keen player in the hydrogen landscape over Japan hydrogen fuel cell projects over multiple phases. They have demonstrated the operation of over 10 buses, and right now they are planning a 100 bus deployment by next year. And Australia, there are multiple projects that are being planned, although there aren't any buses on road now. So this gives you a very good overview of the global landscape and why the work that we do at CUTRIC and why this technology innovation work in hydrogen is really important. The whole world is leading this, and the funny thing or the interesting thing to notice, multiple of these technology innovations that are happening in Europe, be it in China or Japan, utilize the technologies that Canada is making. Canada is a strong and big exporter of hydrogen technology. The European deployments or the Chinese deployments do have a hydrogenics or a ballot system in place. These are Canadian made, Canadian IP, but we are not deploying or demonstrating and utilizing this technology, and that is what CUTRIC is trying to change here. So I believe that gives a brief and good overview of the global landscape. So coming back to the FCEV trial, the fuel cell project that we have at CUTRIC, there are two key objectives for this project in general. One is the development of hydrogen fuel cell technologies for fuel cell electric buses as well as other vehicles, heavy duty vehicles and trucks. We do support municipal and corporate plans for fuel cell technology integration among Canadian transit. So those are the key objectives that we have for this project, apart from technology innovation and building IP and making Canada a global leader. So over a year and a half or 2 years for this project, which started in July of 2017, we have had several consultation sessions wherein public entities, municipalities, cities, transit agencies, original equipment manufacturers, all parties came together to identify the opportunities for fuel cell electric vehicle integration in the country. And we identified a lot of opportunities. Some of them span like environmental landscape. So there are opportunities to meet the sustainability mandates that each region has. For example, York Region Transit has a Vision 2051 sustainability mandate. City of Mississauga has a climate change action plan. So these could be met by utilizing opportunities in FCEV trials. So economic opportunities such as direct obtained by selling electrons, resource optimization, developing IP exist, indirect benefit of job creation, growth and retention do exist as well. Global relevance of this technology and advancement, advancing the readiness of FCEBs and sister deployments in the United States or in Europe are also opportunities for us in this country. There are a lot of challenges for FCEV integration. There are a lot of political challenges because there is a lack of a coordinated effort and consistent funding model that is in place, particularly from the taxpayer side. When we are approaching or applying for funds, there aren't any specific funding modalities available. There is a general lackluster policy leadership that is also posing a political scale challenge. There are economic challenges, which includes high upfront cost. Hydrogen, when you compare it to battery electric buses or battery electric system deployments, the upfront cost is a lot more for hydrogen, and there is a lack of comparative economic assessment to actually see how scalable the solutions are and what kind of economic benefit it could bring. And that is an important consideration when you want to compare electric buses and battery electric buses and hydrogen buses as well. There is a point where there could be a price parity and there could be like economic returns. There are obviously technological challenges because apart from a BC Whistler trial that you probably heard about that happened back in 2010 Olympics time in BC, we do not have the operational experience or the know-how of having operated FCEBs in this country. And extreme climatic conditions in Canada also pose a technological challenges because much of the data that comes from the operational efficiency side comes from countries or places such as California or Europe, which has a completely different climatic condition than we have in Canada, or at least some parts of Canada. So those are some of the challenges. There are significant intellectual property development opportunities for this project. The performance modeling under diverse conditions for these buses, how they operate, is a very valuable IP development opportunity. We would be evaluating the seasonal effects, the operational efficiency, the storage of hydrogen, the cost involved, performance monitoring of fuel cells and the fuel cell electric buses to really understand what kind of a decline occurs in the performance over time, and when do you need to actually do a midlife fuel cell refurbishment, which is inevitable, but how long can you wait? The pathway for cost of renewable and non-renewable hydrogen production, the carbon number involved in the production of hydrogen are all intellectual property opportunities or options. This is not an exhaustive list, but these are some of the key ones that we would be looking at in this project. So when I talk about the fuel cell electric bus project, we do have some champions in this project, and the champion city that is involved is the city of Mississauga with the My Way Transit Agency wanting to procure and operate and demonstrate 10 fuel cell electric buses as a part of this project with a full-scale fueling system in place. So they do not want to buy steam methane reformed hydrogen. They do want to electrolyze hydrogen and utilize that to fuel the fuel cell electric buses and a Class 8 truck. So that is the vision that the city of Mississauga has, and CUTRIC is supporting them in this project. So This basically gives you a very good idea as to what the Mississauga hydrogen ecosystem vision is. So if you look at the CRH Canada acts as a host site for this project. CRH Canada is a concrete manufacturer in Mississauga, and they are a heavy emitting concrete manufacturer. So because they are a very committed corporate citizen and to improve the air quality of the region, they have partnered up with the city as well as the integrator working on this project called CUTRIC to host an electrolyzer system in their site, on their site. This is partly due to the fact that Mississauga or My Way as a transit agency do not have a real estate availability to actually host a full electrolyzer system in their space. So CRH Canada would enter into a long-term lease with My Way to actually host an electrolyzer as well as the compression storage dispensing unit infrastructure in the company real estate. So this project brings a twofold emission reduction model. One, the hydrogen that is produced utilizing the water from Lake Ontario using electricity that is available at CRH Canada. The hydrogen would be shipped off to a My Way location and used to fuel the 10 fuel cell buses and the 1 Class 8 truck. The oxygen that is produced out of the electrolysis process would be integrated into the combustion process or the manufacturing process that happens at CRH Canada to diminish the emissions that are emanating from the industrial emission pipe, basically. So this is that twofold emission model. The oxygen is enhancing the combustion efficiency and reducing their emissions. The hydrogen is to power the buses and truck, which would have in turn used diesel and thereby replacing a fossil fuel powered fleet. So this is basically the Mississauga ecosystem vision. So this particular project, due to several considerations, has a 2 compression storage dispensing unit model. And this has to do with the fact that one, the CSD unit at CRH Canada wouldn't be able to function as a dispensing unit for all the buses and trucks that come to the industrial unit, because it is an industrial space and they do not have that capacity. So the second compression storage dispensing unit would be built at Erindale, which is very close to the Mississauga bus facility, wherein the buses and truck would be refueled at. Because of this reason, there would be a need for a tube trailer. So a hydrogen fuel cell powered truck would also have a tube trailer capacity, and the hydrogen that is generated at the CRH Canada facility would be taken by tube trailer to Erindale. And there would be the storage unit which would be used to fuel the buses and truck. So this is a twofold emission model with 2 CSD units. The electrolyzer comes from Next Hydrogen. We would have an integrator named Carlson 7G working with the dynamically operation of the dynamic operation of the electrolyzer system, depending on the CRH Canada's power feed facilities, because they are a big industrial member. They do have big swings in their power feed. They do have 2 20 megawatt grids available, and the dynamically operation of the electrolyzer is required to make sure their industrial operations are smooth functioning and the hydrogen production also happens. So this is the model that we are pursuing for this project, and the project is currently in the advanced planning phases, wherein we are discussing the finer elements involved in this process. Okay. So the Miss Hydrogen ecosystem vision has a business case as to why we are doing this. So from this slide, we would understand that there are several key merits that are brought about by this project. And as you see, the hydrogen fuel cell electric vehicles replacing fossil fuel powered vehicles is a direct emission reduction business case, and that is a key benefit for this project. The second emission reduction emanates from the industrial emission reduction, the combustion efficiency enhancement due to oxygen integration, and that is another aspect of the business case. Obviously, the enhanced air quality brings greater public health benefits for the community and the society as a whole. And this brings in sustainable and significant economic development and enhanced export potential opportunities for the country. There are significant intellectual property development opportunities and more jobs for Canadians. So this is about making sure we as Canada have a solid and strong economic background and just not get marginalized as an exporter of hydrogen technology, wherein others get to utilize our technology, but we are not employing our own technology prowess. So that is the business case for this project. And these are the key trial participants. MyWay is our champion transit agency. Ballard will be providing the fuel cells for the buses, and Hydrogenics would be providing fuel cell for the Class 8 truck. New Flyer would be providing the buses for this project, the 10 fuel cell buses. Hydrogenics Enbridge has a Martin energy storage facility which generates hydrogen today. This could serve as a secondary fuel supply option for the MyWay project also, or it could be a primary option for other transit agencies that are advisors and observers currently on this project, who are TTC, Brampton Transit and York Region Transit. They are keen observers. Brampton Transit and York Region Transit, if you recall from my previous slides, they are part of our e-bus project. Once that project is launched, they would be coming back to the fuel cell project to look at the hydrogen technology deployment. TTC recently contracted CUTRIC to do a full fleet electrification as to see what kind of implications would the battery electric buses have and the hydrogen buses have. So these three are very keen observers who would be utilizing our technology innovation prowess, and for them the Hydrogenics Enbridge fueling solution would be a good fit. Carlson 7G Fuel is the integrator that is working with us on this project with CRH Canada, as well as Next Hydrogen, who is the electrolyzer manufacturer, who would be integrating the electrolyzer and the CSD systems at CRH Canada, as well as at Erindale, bringing the hydrogen to Mississauga transit fleet at a per kilogram unit price. So that I would like to pause there and see if there are any questions. Fahad, would there be any questions right now?
No, not at this time.
Okay, let me move on then. So this is a further description of the key players and their roles in this particular project. So as I said before, New Flyer would be providing the buses for this project, and these buses would come equipped with Ballard fuel cells. Hydrogenics would be providing the fuel cell for the truck, as well as they are a very well-known electrolyzer manufacturer. So they could be providing the electrolyzer for other transit agencies who would like to make their hydrogen as well, instead of buying it from another third party, such as an SMR agent, for example, SMR production unit. Enbridge Hydrogenics facility, as I previously mentioned, could be the secondary fuel supplier for this particular project for MyWay, and could be the primary for the other observers who would join. CRH Canada is the host site, and the city of Mississauga is our champion. Carlson 7J is the integrator. So CUTRIC as a national organization does have a lot of MOUs with other national or international organizations, and one of the key players with whom we do have a tie-up with is the JIVE network, so the Joint Initiative for Hydrogen Vehicles in Europe. They do have deployments and lessons learned already. So you probably remember from the global landscape slide that I showed, JIVE is a big program happening in Europe that has deployed around 300 buses. So they have a lot of technical monitoring data points available, and we do not want to reinvent the wheel. So some of the learnings that JIVE has would be utilized, would be used as a building block for determining what would be the ample data collection opportunities for us. And some of these are technical and financial monitoring of hydrogen refueling unit, monitoring of hydrogen production unit, hydrogen refueling station, external hydrogen delivery, monitoring of the operation of fuel cell electric buses, refueling, recharging, things like that. So these are kind of a building block for our data collection plan. So there are a lot of research and development needs that we are trying to meet. The hydrogen production and storage is a big one, evaluating the seasonal performance variations, monitoring the fuel cell degradation, developing the hydrogen business case. So you saw a business case before, it's a more like a qualitative scale, there could be a quantitative business case. So these are kind of the research and development needs. And the fuel cell degradation is an important one, as I alluded to in the past. There is a need for a mid-life fuel cell refurbishment, and research is showing that fuel cells have like a higher operational efficiency than what was previously expected. For example, AC Transit in the US has been operating a fuel cell electric bus without the need to replace the fuel cell and for the past 7.5 years. So 30,000 plus hours of operation has already been accomplished in a single fuel cell unit without having the need to replace. Even the need to replace would come once during the lifetime of a bus with around a 60 to 70 grand cost. So this is the Markham energy storage facility that I previously mentioned about what the power to gas facility is doing. It is energy storage option for produced hydrogen. So in this particular case, the surplus power from the grid would be fed into an electrolyzer, which would be generating hydrogen, and the hydrogen would be stored to optimize the power supply, in the sense that when there is a lack of, when there is a need to rebalance the grid, they would be using the hydrogen to generate electricity. So it's a double balanced system of grid balancing. It's a power to gas system. Great technology innovation happening here in Markham, and the oxygen and the hydrogen production unit is happening. So we would be having a site visit planned as a part of our conference that I will talk about in a bit, to this wonderful facility to really demonstrate, to show our participants about the hydrogen production that is happening in real time. They produce around 1,000 kilograms of hydrogen per month, and it could be a great opportunity to tap that hydrogen and to utilize that for the technology innovation and the transportation opportunities that we are planning to do. And that is where our observers could utilize this opportunity as well. Okay. So that was a very brief overview about the project, and the second thing that I would be talking about in this webinar is about our TRiPSIM tool. So TRiPSIM stands for Transit Route Performance Simulator. So we do at CUTRIC have a very efficient and very proficient modeling team, and the modeling team developed this tool to predict the performance of alternate propulsion urban vehicles on transit routes. And each transit route is modeled according to a different utilization scenario, and it involves different differences based on the seasons, the weather changes, the route topography, and the ridership or the auxiliary load drop. A lot of variables are involved basically. So this tool has been a real great success because the previous, as previously mentioned, a lot of our consulting contracts do focus on the TRiPSIM tool because this is a one-of-a-kind tool. No one in Canada has that tool, so we are a very reputed and very reliable team. As a not-for-profit, we are also able to offer it for a much reduced rate as well. So we are regularly contracted to do modeling for our transit and city partners to see, in real time what would look like to use hydrogen on a given route for a electric bus on a given route, for example. Because generally there is a misconception that battery electric buses can resolve all problems. It is actually not true, and a lot of our transit agencies who have come to the table thinking that, well, we are not interested in anything other than battery electric have gone back and realized, well, looking at the modeling results, it seems like battery electric buses wouldn't be a good option for a given route A, whereas hydrogen would be a good option. So things like that, those kind of decision making and hand holding is something that we are doing through this TRiPSIM modeling. So I would give you a little bit of information about how we do it and what kind of results could be expected out of the TRiPSIM modeling. For one example of a route is a MyWay Route 26 that we actually modeled out. It's a Burnham-Thorpe 46 kilometer round trip route. In reality, it takes 120 minutes to complete this round trip. So when we actually do this modeling analysis, how we do is we utilize our in-house Python code, and we utilize the information and the parameters that our original equipment manufacturers have confidentially given to us. So we do utilize the model of a 40 feet New Flyer XHE40 hybrid fuel cell bus for this modeling purpose. So the one thing to understand is the fuel cell bus means it is primarily a battery electric bus with a fuel cell as a range extender. It's not a fuel cell dominant bus that we are using in this modeling tool. Because the fuel cell dominant ones are more expensive, we would be utilizing a hydrogen as a range extender, and that is the main function of hydrogen in this particular scenario. When we model the route elevation profile, how we do it is we would be importing the transit agency route and the timetable data in general transit feed specification format on a GIS, and then we would import our highest resolution elevation data set that is available to us. We would resample the routing of interest. So routing means route taken at a particular time of the week to 10 meter spacings and attach elevation to each of them. Then we would collect traffic impediment points and clarify them as stops or traffic lights or pedestrian crossings. And we also collect speed limit data. Then we would be locating points and stop type along each bus route by increasing the distance. Then we do the same thing for speed limit data, except to show range along the speed limit hold. Then we utilize this data to generate a speed and grade profile for the route. And that is what we utilize to do the model using our in-house code. So in terms of a duty cycle development, this is a baseline duty cycle. So this is shown, this is the non-real life scenario, because we wouldn't be having a case where a bus would only operate with a driver with no auxiliary loads and no stops. This wouldn't be a real life scenario, but this is a baseline scenario as to how it would look like if such scenario existed. So in the speed against time graph, you would see the constant acceleration of a bus which has no auxiliary load, no passengers except for the driver, and constant velocity from after this initial acceleration phase over to the point where it constantly decelerated to a complete stop. So this is a baseline duty cycle. This is, as I said, a non-real life scenario. But if we look at a medium or an average duty cycle with half full passenger load and half auxiliary load, wherein we would be stopping for all scheduled major bus stops, and we would be planning to stop at 50% of other stops, which would be randomly selected from traffic lights or pedestrian crossings or stop signs or other unscheduled bus stops, for example. And this again is a speed against time graph, as you see. And if you look closely, it is a repeated but a very compressed version of the previous basic duty cycle graph that I showed you. It's again a constant acceleration, then a constant speed, and then constant deceleration. So this is how an average duty cycle would look like. And we would be doing a modeling for a worst case duty cycle, wherein it's a full passenger load, full auxiliary load. You can't expect anything more than this. So it would be stopping for all bus stops, scheduled or unscheduled. It would be stopping for all traffic lights, stop signs, and additional stopping for pedestrians and jaywalkers. So this is again the speed against time graph, and you would see the worst case duty cycle has a load of stops and a load of constant speed, constant acceleration, deceleration graph points embedded. So in real life for a transit agency or for a city, you would be looking at somewhere between the medium and worst case, or the lower end of the medium duty cycle. That's what we generally see. So this would give you a very good indication as to what you would be experiencing in terms of hydrogen utilization, as well as the water utilization to produce the hydrogen if you are utilizing electrolysis. So the hydrogen consumption on my way route number 26 for this 46-kilometer round trip, based on the actual schedule information, we modeled out this information based on our previous studies. So you would find here for the baseline, average, and worst case scenarios, the amount of hydrogen that it would be needed to cover 100 kilometers is varying between 4.2 to 13.4 kilogram of hydrogen per 100 kilometers. For each of this hydrogen production, we would be looking at what is it to complete it for the full route, like for the day, the total hydrogen consumed. So 125 to 400, and the total water consumed to produce the hydrogen. And this assumes the theoretical best case scenario wherein 9 liters of water is required to produce 1 kilogram of hydrogen from the equation water to H2 plus O2. And the total water consumed ranges from 1,132 liters to 3,600 liters. So this is a very good overview as to what the hydrogen utilization would look like. And when you actually do the comparison, you need to compare it to diesel to see how different is the fuel consumption and the efficiency. So here you would see the light duty, medium duty, heavy duty comparison. So light duty stands for the baseline, heavy duty is the worst case scenario. And when you compare diesel bus to the fuel cell electric bus, for diesel equivalent for 100 kilometers, you would see the difference. And the diesel bus is far less efficient than hydrogen when it comes to the fuel consumption simulation models. So we would additionally be doing the cost-based analysis for this, but it would depend on each transit agency's cost profiles as well. So for Mississauga, I do have numbers, but it is depending on the agreement that the integrator has with the city as to deliver the hydrogen for a unit price for per kilogram, and the numbers would vary depending on the number that the city agrees to and the hydrogen that is available to them. So that's why I'm not showing like the economic side of this here in real numbers. I'm not showing that right now, but you would see the efficiency difference is drastic and really remarkable. Okay, so the hydrogen fuel cell electric vehicle demonstration integration trial, as I previously mentioned, is currently in the advanced planning phase as well. Up until April of 2018, we had open consultation sessions wherein almost, we had a huge participation from across the country. The sessions was held at different parts of the country, and we had enormous amount of input from different agencies and different OEMs who are interested in hydrogen integration. And right now it is all closed doors and exclusively for CUTRIC members, and we are doing the advanced planning. And currently in September 27, we started off with the methodology, goals, and the funding options for this project. And we did do a team on a strategic vision on hydrogen technology integration. We did do a standardization needs and vehicle technology last time in February. And the next session is happening on May 9th. So next week, and we will be focusing on hydrogen fuel cell technology and fueling solutions. So in parallel to this OEM working groups, as we call them, this closed door member exclusive meetings, we have been doing some parallel sessions with our academic participants, and as a part of CUTRIC funding, we have almost funded them more than $100,000 to do research that directly contributes to the development of this project. So some of the research that our academic partners would be doing is what are the optimized cost reduction modalities for a transit agency, what is the best way to look at integrated hydrogen production, and things like that would be looked at. So that is how CUTRIC is operating, and we would be planning to deploy and demonstrate these buses by end of next year, 2020.
Parvathy, we have a question.
Okay.
How does hydrogen cost per liter compare to traditional fuel, including diesel?
Yes, so as I said, the cost of hydrogen would need to be determined based on your specific scenarios. In the case of Mississauga, the cost that we would be looking at is around $13 to $14 per kilogram hydrogen. That would be when you compare it with diesel in terms of the cost, well, there is a huge difference, right? I mean, the diesel would be at around $1, but there are efficiency differences that are involved. There is an environmental difference that is involved. So those are some of the key considerations for the champions that are involved in this project. But that would be my answer to that question. It depends on how and where the hydrogen is produced, what kind of a distance are you taking the hydrogen to and from. For example, if we have the an option to work with the Marquee Energy Storage Facility who is producing hydrogen, and say, for example, Brampton Transit plans to buy hydrogen from them, then we would be looking at a different cost, different value per kilogram for that hydrogen than what is being seen at Mississauga. It is very specific to the transit agency, to your restrictions or limitations and the opportunities that you would like to explore. So in the case of Mississauga, they would only work with CRH and Carlson, and that's a package there, and that has to do with the corporate citizenship and a lot of the Mississauga story, the ecosystem vision that the city has. So they have a more economic, like environmental focus than an economic focus in this particular case, I should say.
So in your experience, what seems to be the like the upper and lower what's the span of cost? I guess maybe that's what it would be nice to have. So it's cost per liter. So what's the cheapest that you've seen?
If you are looking at a steam methane reformed hydrogen, wherein hydrogen would be produced from methane, so Air Products or Air Liquide are some of the organizations that manufacturers that sell that hydrogen. There would be differences in that, because substantial differences, and I have seen maybe in USD, I believe it's around $6 or $7 per kilo.
7.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, that was a little bit, I haven't had a recent updated information from them, but that is what I heard previously. But don't quote me, but that is a rough estimate.
$6 or $7 per kilogram, you're saying?
USD, yeah.
US dollars, okay. Okay. And similarly, I guess for the regular fuel or diesel, comparably, I guess what would be that?
Like for electrolytic hydrogen?
Yes.
Yes, so for electrolytic hydrogen, I would say around $10 is what you should envision for hydrogen, because when hydrogen, as I previously mentioned, there is an issue with scalability. If you are talking about a 100 bus deployment, you can really bring down the cost of hydrogen. But if you're just looking at a very small trial, like a 10 bus trial or a 5 bus trial, then hydrogen has a high upfront cost, and that cost would be reflected in the per unit kilo, like the cost that you would be looking at. So $10 per kilogram would be a very rough estimate to work with.
Okay, got it. The other question is, other than the cost, what is the biggest barrier preventing more regional participation?
Other than the cost, I would say there is a generic lack of knowledge that promotes aversion, because what you don't know, right? So people do not know the role that hydrogen could play and the importance that hydrogen has. So years ago, battery electric buses had a battery electric buses had a this phase as well, wherein battery was perceived as a really expensive modality, but over 10 years the cost of battery has diminished substantially. And similar to that, currently hydrogen is perceived to have a little bit of a starting trouble, in the sense that, a metaphorical starting trouble, in the sense that the organizations perceive it as a high upfront cost. We don't know this technology, and the BC technology is perceived as a failure. Actually, the technology didn't fail. The technology was sufficient then and there, but the problem that existed in the BC Bristol trial hasn't been communicated to everyone, and people aren't aware. So I would say ignorance is the major stumbling block.
Understood. Okay. The other question is for a liter of hydrogen fuel, how would you compare the distance covered by the vehicle? So does hydrogen fuel gives you, does it last longer than diesel or other fuels?
Yeah, so I think that this graph is basically a good representation. This table is basically a good representation. So we are looking at, on the average case, 10 kilogram of hydrogen is required to cover 100 kilometers in an average duty cycle case. And I think we can all agree that you wouldn't be looking at that equivalency when it comes to diesel. You would require substantially more amount of fuel to cover the same distance. And that is the reason why we do have this fuel efficiency comparison showing the fuel cell electric buses to require lower fuel to cover the same amount of distance. So this is a per 100 kilometer comparison for diesel and fuel cell buses, and you would see based on the comparison that 1 kilogram of hydrogen is equivalent to 3.39 diesel equivalent. You can see the comparison here, that if you see around 45 is required for diesel and around 32 is required for fuel cell. So that is a per liter per 100 kilometer comparison.
Sounds good. Okay, we have no more questions at the point. You can continue, please.
Okay. So this project, as I said, in the advanced planning phase, we have actually approached the taxpayers for funding this project. And currently, this is at the ministry level consideration. So the Low Carbon Economy Fund has a budget of 41.7 million Canadian dollars, and this is currently awaiting a decision at the federal ministry level. This has been an unsolicited bid, and there are some components that I can discuss about. In this particular case, about $8.1 million would be contributed by the city of Mississauga. There is an OEM that has agreed to contribute $2 million towards R&D, and we are requesting that LCEF cover the remainder of the cost at $31.56 million, which comes to around 75.8% of the project. So there are three different tiers to this budget. One is the infrastructure capex, which comes to around $34 million, and it depends on the particular scenario that each transit agency has. For Mississauga, they are looking at 10 buses, 1 Class 8 tractor and trailer, 1 electrolyzer, and 2 CSD units. Overhead cost and oxygen integration altogether comes to around $33.9 million. The fuel licenses and program management cost for 5 years come to $4.9 million. So this includes the cost of hydrogen at $1 per kilogram rate, the integrators operation and maintenance cost, the CUTRIC program management cost, everything comes to around $4.9 million. There is again the facility modification and maintenance cost at around $2.9 million. It includes the maintenance of FCEBs, electrolyzers, the midlife fuel cell refurbishment, facility modifications, and the materials that are involved. So altogether, we are looking at a 41.7 million Canadian dollar budget. So the important thing to consider in this case is the infrastructure investments are solid, like you can scale it up to at least fuel 100 buses or trucks, and have this operate throughout the years. You just need to add more vehicles to the system to make this function. So that is the beauty of hydrogen as well. Apart from the midlife fuel cell refurbishment, it's much similar to a diesel bus. You fuel it like you do a diesel, and then you operate it. There are the operational and maintenance costs of fuel cell electric buses are also comparably lower than diesel buses from experience as well. So this is an overall budget that gives you a brief idea as to what Mississauga is looking at in terms of cost and what we have asked the federal ministry to fund us. And this is based on the fact that Minister McKenna, Honorable Catherine McKenna, actually declared in a previous news announcement that she would be planning to fund the hydrogen buses in Mississauga. So this bid is currently awaiting response. Okay, so I realize we are coming closer to the end of the session, and I would like to highlight the fact that we are holding a National Hydrogen Mobility Innovation Conference, the first of its kind, in Mississauga on June 17th and 18th of 2019, and you are all invited to participate. The details are on our website. The tickets are currently on sale. Today is the last day for early bird, so if you are interested in taking part and participating in this 1.5 day national conference, which would attract the participation of more than 200 attendees, you are welcome to do that. It would be a great opportunity for you to listen about Hydrail, about the hydrogen innovation landscape in the country and abroad, and what opportunities do exist. And our industry participants such as New Flyer, Ballard, BAE Systems, Hydrogenics, Enbridge, all industry would be represented there. We are planning to have a trade show, and Toyota might be an interested participant. Toyota would be bringing their vehicle. We would be having a site visit planned to the Markham Energy Storage Facility that I previously talked about, and there would be this site visit which we would organize, wherein we would take the participants who have registered and who have until we have a cap, of course, and we would take those who are interested to the site visit to do a guided tour of the facility and take you back. So this would be a huge 1.5 day conference, and I welcome you all to attend. It would be a great opportunity for everyone to learn about the work that CUTRIC is doing, the need that Canada has, and the space that Canada has to lead. So that brings me to the end, and this is my contact detail. Please do visit our website. It is cutric-crituk.org. If you search for that, you would find our website. All the information is there. Contact details are there. Our conference details, registration information, everything is there. Please do let me know if you have any further questions, or if you would like to learn more. I'd be happy to help. If you are interested in doing a full fleet electrification for your city, for your fleet, to see what it looks like to have hydrogen fuel cell buses on my X number of routes, or battery electric buses on these routes, let us know. We would be happy to give you a quote, because we do that for a very competitive and lower price, I should say, because we are a not-for-profit entity. We do not have a very high price tag attached, and we do these projects for the greater good of the country. That is our fundamental objective. So please do let me know if there are anything like that you are interested in, and I hope you would be able to join our conference in June. And with that, I would like to thank you all for your kind attention. And Fahad, are there any questions that I can answer?
Maybe just a couple of questions. First of all, thanks, Parvathy. Very good, informative session that you've put out. You mentioned that there are some deployed buses in the U.S. Do you know which states they are in?
They are mainly, the bunch of them, the majority are in California. California is the hub for fuel cell buses. There are a few in, I believe, one in Michigan, one in Flint, Michigan, and I do have a detailed literature review that we would be putting out on the website that would have the details. But California would be the major area where the bunch of buses are, the majority are.
Understood. Okay. Do you know of any barriers due to weather? Like, I mean, are there specific issues why the northern parts of the US aren't taking as key of a role, or?
No, see, the issue with the US is what I understood is they are not, well, for one, they are not very interested in electrolytic hydrogen generation powered vehicles, which means they would be basically locating closer to areas where SMR hydrogen, the steam methane reformed hydrogen, would be available, and that could be the more of a reason why they are not interested in the other portions of the states where SMR hydrogen might be too hard to get. But they do not want to incorporate an electrolyzer. I don't think there are ample research evidence from Ballard or Hydrogenics to show that there is a climatic condition that is preventing this operation. We actually do know that these buses and fuel cells actually perform really good up until like -20. Like they have no problem doing operation up until -20 or -25 at this point. But technology innovation is happening. They are actually innovating that to make sure that we are accommodating like lower temperatures than that. Of course, these buses are not supposed to be stored outside. There is a free start option, so without the need for a diesel heater when they get started right now.
Understood. And the last question is, do you have any specific participation opportunities for municipalities for your phase one?
Yes, so if you are interested in taking part in this project, so currently, as I said, for Mississauga, this is currently a, in the advanced planning phase, they are going to the procurement phase. But if your city is interested, maybe, let me know, and we would be happy to have a conversation and to see if how fast you can join the race. And if not, that could be a phase 2 option to which we would be launching very soon in next year or in the next few months as well.
Understood. Perfect. Okay. Thank you, Parvathy, once again, and thank you everybody on the line for joining today. There was a question about the slides being available. Parvathy, will you be able to make the slides available to me and I can share ahead?
Yeah, I think I would be able to share some of the slides, some of the modeling information. I cannot share that because that is proprietary and that is only for our members as well. So I should be able to share some of my slides. I will edit them and send it to you, Ravi.
Perfect. Sounds great. All right. Thank you once again. And please keep us posted and we'd love to have you again.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ontario Good Roads Association and Fahad, as well as all our municipality stakeholders who attended this session. I had the incredible privilege of sharing this information about this great project with you all. I hope you learned a little bit about hydrogen and I have been able to pique your interest in this space. So please do let me know if there are any further questions. You would find all our contact information on the website, as I mentioned. And please do plan to attend our conference, which would be a really great opportunity for you to get an edge on the hydrogen technology landscape in the country. And we are doing this for the country, so we are hoping that you would be able to join us in this race. Thank you so much, Fahad. Thank you, Ogra. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.